What if I told you you could see some of the world's greatest sights all in 5 days for under $1,000? Welcome to California. I'm Patrick Rawlings. I've been lucky enough to travel on many adventures. I've seen some of the most amazing things this world has to offer, from peaceful sunrises to inspiring sunsets in many parts of this world, from my own backyard to ancient ruins on the other side of the planet. I have had leisure time and hard work along the way. Whether traveling with loved ones or stepping out on my own, I try to take the time to enjoy the journey. I have found that there's always something interesting off the beaten path. Recently, my wife and I took a trip that had us saying wow around nearly every turn in the road. On this trip, we traveled from our home in Southern California to San Francisco, then up the famous Highway 101 all the way to the Oregon border, then back around and down through the Southern Cascade Mountain Range to the Eastern Sierra Nevada Range and back home again. The journey only took us 5 days. We traveled over 2,030 miles and spent under $900. That was including gas, all of our food, and our overnight stays. On day one of our trip, we set out early from our home in Southern California and drove all the way to San Francisco just in time for a late lunch at the world-famous Fisherman's Wharf and a sample of chocolate at the Ghirardelli factory store. From there, we headed north on Highway US 101 to our first overnight stay at a KOA campground in Cloverdale, California. This was a well-maintained campground about an hour-and-a-half drive north of San Francisco, just into the world-famous California wine country. The campground is set in the rolling hills with large oak trees and rows of vineyards as far as the eyes can see. Small cabin was only $58 for the night. It was clean and an adequate size for just the two of us. It's day 2 and our next stop is Crescent City, California. Normally this is about a 6 or 7 hour drive if you're not taking any stops. But of course this is one of those road trips, and what road trip would not be complete without any detours? It took some time to go and check out some of the vineyards in Sonoma County, and of course, how could we go through this area without taking the time to drive through a famous redwood tree? This section of the drive has famously some of the most beautiful scenery in the world. Unfortunately, we went through it after sunset. That's okay though, we knew we'd be back in a couple days. We arrived well after dark to our KOA cabin in Crescent City. This little cabin was tucked into some giant redwood stumps. It was actually a pretty cool little place to stay for the night. This would be our base camp for the next set of adventures. From Crescent City, you can pretty much branch out in any direction and take all kinds of different adventures. We decided to go to the northeast, to the Oregon caves. Unfortunately, we should have checked ahead of time. These caves were closed for the day. Of course, they're closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. That's all right. We'll just head back down through the beautiful drive into the redwoods again and hang out by the campfire at our new little cabin base camp. On day 4, we headed back south through that drive that we had missed through the evening time the other night. What a beautiful drive it was through the foggy coastal redwoods. We got to Patrick's Point State Park sometime mid-morning just to find that it was closed. That's dumb luck, but that's all right. We headed on out east to the Lassen Volcano. On our way, we made sure we took some time to do some panning for gold, and also don't forget when you're going through here to do some squatching along the way. Squatching, for those of you who don't know, is hunting for Bigfoot. This part of the drive was some of the most gorgeous countryside you could imagine seeing. Twisting river valleys, huge mountaintops. We got to Lassen's Peak just to see it covered in snow. Most of the roads were closed at this point. We took Highway 395 south down the eastern Sierra Nevada range. We stopped at Reno for the night at some friend's house. That actually saved us quite a bit of money. Not to mention the $150 we won while we were gambling in Reno. On the 5th day, we said goodbye to Nevada and headed our way back home through California down Highway 395 some more. We stopped at Mammoth Mountain along the way to check out some of the people at the local ski resort here. Once we left Mammoth Mountain, it was a long drive down Highway 395. On one side, you have Death Valley and some of the largest desert scenes you could possibly even imagine. On the other side, the huge eastern Sierra Nevada mountain range rises up to the tallest point of Mount Whitney, which is about 14,500 feet above sea level. It's funny, Death Valley has the lowest point at 14 feet below sea level, and they're all within a couple hundred miles of each other. You can actually see one while you're standing in the other. Small vacations like this one can be very rewarding. There are so many things to see and do right here in our own backyard. A trip up the northern coast of California, so many options available, it's actually impossible to see and do it all. There are many items on the bucket lists of a lot of people. You can cross the Golden Gate Bridge, explore the giant redwoods, drive through a tunnel cut through a massive tree. These are all things that can be done in one morning or afternoon. Imagine taking 5 days to do even more. Thank you for watching this brief presentation. I hope you found it very informative, and at least inspiring. My name is Patrick Rawlings, and I hope to see you out on the road sometime. What if I told you you could stop? If I told you you could... She's a butt.